Okay, Hassan and I were having an argument about the quality of Flash Season 9, and I was telling him that he needs to get over Flash Season 9 because it's just as bad as all the prior seasons. Okay, you either have accepted how Flash Season 9 is based on Season 4 onward, or you just need to stop complaining about it, which is probably going to lead to an actual discussion about whether or not we should be reviewing it, because I can find things that I enjoy, but that's a different argument. This led to his counterpoint being that Superman and Lois is better than Flash, which proves that they should. And my counterpoint to that was HBO is funding the CW. Now, when they were talking during another show, I decided to do a little research. Now, the de facto answer of whether or not the HBO funding for the CW exists is Hassan was right.
What? Oh my God. Benny, I was sending you a link to prove you wrong. I literally, as you were saying that, I'd already preemptively sent you a link proving that you were wrong. You're admitting that. Oh my God. This feels so good. Oh my God.
I went one step further because I got that same article and started deep diving. Okay. So every time I wasn't looking at what we were supposed to be doing, I was getting all of this data. The question doesn't come from, is it actually co-funded by the HBO and CW, but where did that rumor start? Because if you do a Google, it does come up as HBO's funding half of the CW, Superman and Lois, and it is literally article after article after article. His counterpoint was he did an amazing interview with the Superboy who was on the show, and he asked him, he asked him, and he told him that it wasn't. And my counterpoint was that guy receives a check, he doesn't know the funding behind it, and that kind of got us into a heated argument where Sal rage quit out of the show, and Dan was yelling at us, and it was kind of a funny morning, and I wish we had that to show you. This all started from CW was seeking funding from HBO right before the start of Superman. So there was public knowledge that they were seeking funding from HBO because they wanted to start putting the shows on HBO. Yeah. Because they were like, we need to get into the streaming service, and CW Seed is not working. So because they were going to give the shows to HBO, they publicly were seeking funding from HBO for shows such as Superman. What actually happened is they never got that funding. No. So everyone moved forward assuming that the funding came from CW and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And it didn't help that they got a licensing deal because Superman and Lois, even when it's in between seasons off air, whenever it is not actively premiering, it lives on HBO Max.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So the assumption is that it lives on HBO and it's a part of HBO, and they were seeking funding from HBO, that it was funded by HBO, which is why the quality improved. Yeah. The fact is, I dug all throughout, and in an interview, Todd Helbing, the guy I believe he's the showrunner or the producer of the show, explained many aspects of Superman and Lois were approached as if it were a feature film, such as aspect ratio, cinematography, production design, stating, we're competing with shows on cables and streamers, and we wanted to be able to do that and offer audiences something of equal quality. That is why it looks so different and why it went over to HBO. But there is no actual co-funding, and the thread that I found about it is basically everyone arguing about that because no one can believe that CW can produce such a good-looking show when they have the Flash alongside.
Which, I think it's fair for you to think that because I completely thought that until I knew an actual actor on the show, and then he told me otherwise. Up until that point, I fully believed it. And you look back. If you remember the lead up to Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? There are these scenes, and there's scenes in it that look a lot like Superman and Lois. They are that movie cinematography aspect ratio. They didn't get extra money to do that. Crisis on Infinite Earths was made on the same budget as the regular season productions, and Superman and Lois made that same budget. They just decided that was the stylization they wanted to go with. This season of Flash is actually shot it's a good bit better. It's like a step towards Superman and Lois with how it is shot specifically, but they didn't get any more money. It's just how they decided to film. A lot of times they have much cheaper cameras set on block shooting to save on time and VFX work, and honestly, it's sloppy and lazy. Not to be disrespectful, but that's what Flash does. Superman and Lois, with everything that I learned about behind the scenes stuff, those people that are working on the production of this show, they worked on Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. They worked on all the Vancouver shows. They also worked on Smallville. So when it came to doing a new Superman show, they put their whole like heart and soul into it because it's a lot of the same gaffers, lighting technicians, DPs, fight choreographers. The guy training Alex Garfin to be Swole for his superpowers trained Tom Welling. So they're putting more love into it because most of the people on there have like a very significant relationship with Superman. So that's like it's love plus the Flash's budget, which is what equals that. So if I criticize Flash, it's because I know for a fact they could do better if they want to, but they don't, and that's fine.
They don't care to, I think, because
They
the
don't
show's a success. But that's my argument. If it's been the same crap show since season 3, I say 3. You say Savitar wasn't bad, but I say 1 and 2 were the only good ones.
I would say like I remember when I stopped liking it, and I remember the excitement of before the Savitar reveals and before things happen. I remember the discussions, like with friends and on Twitter and like the YouTube atmosphere back then with Emergency Awesome and Pagey and those guys like reviewing it back then. There was this like level of excitement of like, who is Savitar? Who's his villain? There was some gripes because they're like, why did we do Flashpoint in one episode? There's definitely some anger.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of love back then, and I think visually, a lot of people compare CGI a lot on TikTok now to seasons 1, 2, 3, and even some in 4 to like any episode, any moment that we're seeing in season 9. It's really rough. So that's why I'm complaining. I still want to finish the show. I will finish it because I love Grant Gustin.
We'll watch it, and regardless of the individual weekend, if we decide to not do it every week anymore, we'll still do a wrap-up of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, but it was a fair argument, Benny. You don't know. You just made my day. Chad, if somebody can clip the argument we had beforehand, clip this moment, send it to me. This is like my birthday present. My birthday's not for 7 months, Benny. Like, this is crazy.
I can't believe you were sending articles. You're like, all right, I'm ready to fight.
Well, no, I had it ready.
I got fighting words.
I Googled. So, like, once you and Sal started filming your thing, I was like, you know what? I'm curious what Benny saw. And I Googled the sentence. The exact sentence was, is Superman and Lois being funded by HBO Max? And then the first article says...
I actually didn't find that article, actually.
Yeah, it says, as it stands right now, the series appears to be solely funded by the CW, and that was from February of 2022.
Well,
I sent that to Dan.
It ties into the fact that apparently CW's been losing funding because the two joint venture companies want nothing to do with it anymore, so they just weren't funding anything.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why Stargirl is on the chopping block for similar reasons and stuff like that. The only reason Superman and Lois is still going is because of the specific public reception of that show and the contracts that were made. Stargirl, I think they were in a place where they could re-up, but the perception was like, we like Stargirl, but no one was talking about Stargirl.
Yeah.
People talk about Superman and Lois because Superman's in it, so...
plus, it'll give us the problem is they can't just cancel everything that says DC on it for the next 2 years while we get the movies rolling.
Yeah.
None of those movies have started shooting. But anyway,
right.
I officially admit defeat. You are correct. It is a popular rumor, but it started from a false location.
This is a win.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time right here at Absolutely.